even with all this success that we've had, he still feels like he's in survival mode. You know, pressure from the business kind of just sucks the fun out of our life. It's causing me to get defensive, and it's affecting how we enjoy each other.
What's up? This is John with the Dr. John Delony Show, the best marriage and parenting and mental health podcasts ever. So glad that you're with us. If you want to be a caller on the show, if you want to pull up a seat and we can figure it out, whatever's going on in your life, whether it's school issues or kid issues or spouse or who you're dating issues or mental health chat, whatever's going on, give me a buzz, 1-844-693-3291. It's 1-844-693-3291, or go to johndeloney.com/ask. Ask. All right, let's go to Hamilton, New Jersey. What's up, Lynn? How we doing?
Hi, Dr. John. It's such an honor to speak to you. Thanks so much for taking the call.
It's an honor for me. I'm grateful that you called. What's up?
So, me and my husband have been married for 23 years, and we run a home-based business where we work together on the daily. It's been super successful. My husband's an awesome entrepreneur. He does an amazing job, responding to challenges, adapting to growth. It's been a huge success. We have substantial savings. We live debt-free. We have a paid-off home. My challenge is even with all this success that we've had, he still feels like he's in survival mode. If our business isn't growing, and we're working, and I feel like we're not on the same page anymore in regard to work-life balance.
Okay.
Pressure from the business kind of just sucks the fun out of our life. It's causing me to get defensive, and it's affecting how we enjoy each other and just live our daily lives.
Gotcha. So what do you want to do?
Well, I love the business. I love that we have flexibility. I love, the day-to-day work. I personally would like to scale back, travel a little bit more. But again, he feels like he's in this survival mode, which to me is not the case.
Right. It's pretty common, and you know this, I mean, you live it, that people can turn their vocation, their business, their job into who they are. And that sentiment, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
That can become a personal identity. If I'm not making more money than I made last quarter, then I am failing. And if I'm failing, I have nothing. And so I've got to do whatever I can do to make sure this proxy, this thing that I have outsourced my identity to, this business. And by the way, business has a dollar amount, right? It's got a scorecard. And so I just get a real time. You can't find out if you did a good job with your kids, right? Until a teacher tells you, or until they marry well, or whatever. Your business tells you every day if you're failing or if you're winning, right? All that to say is this. I don't think this is a business question at all. I think this is a life question. And I just listen to you talk. I think you like your life that this business affords you more than the business. Is that fair?
Very 100% spot on.
Okay. And my guess is your husband, very similar. He may not love the business as much as the business gives him or has propped him up for a long, long time.
Yep.
And at some point, it'll kill you, right? Or you'll die of natural causes. Here's the ultimate question. Who do we want to become now? And that usually has couples sitting down saying, okay, we are 50, we are 65. What have we done all of this for, if not to enjoy it and not to go live our lives? And so the question is, who are we going to be? I would love to see you. This is just me throwing a grenade in your home. for fun. And also, I'm being kind of serious. I would love to see you turn in like a 6 weeks notice. I'm resigning.
Okay.
I'm not going to work here anymore because I want to go enjoy my life. And I would love for you to come with me. And I would love for you to go on dates with me and go hiking and whatever things y'all want to do, go salsa dancing, whatever the thing is.
Right.
I would love for you to do that with me, and you can choose to value grinding it and killing it, crushing it more than you value doing those things with me, but I'm going to go do them. So when I just said that, your voice tone changed. Why?
I agree with you. I thought it would scare me when you first were saying it, but I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of digging it.
Just resign. You work for yourself. You can quit.
Yep.
And I'm saying that with a smile on my face. Does that sound freeing?
It sounds amazing.
Okay, here's the big question. Most of the times couples get into discussions that turn into debates, that turn into fights, and it's about money, our business. It's about, who's gonna, that kind of stuff. This isn't that conversation. This conversation is, honey, we have enough. I want a different kind of life now. Or I want a life that looks like X, Y, or Z. And then what kind of work or business can we put into that life that supports it, but that the world doesn't revolve around that anymore? And for those listening who are younger, there's seasons when you're 20 and you're 30 when your life has to revolve around, you've got to get yourself in a position to be for stability, right? That's every job throughout all of history. And now there's a big thing for 20-year-olds that are quitting and like, I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm just going to get a minimum wage job because I'm going to live and love my life. And that just means I'm going to play video games or I'm going to go hiking or whatever. And I think that's a terrible mistake. But you are the opposite of that. Y'all put all the work and time in. And here you are, right? How old are you?
He just turned 50. I'm 52. So we've put years of sacrifice in.
And you're 10 years ahead of the curve, if not 20 years, right?
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Okay. Could you hire somebody to run this business that would provide y'all with some money and some purpose, and he's still a part of it, but also some flexibility? Or is it really built around him and you?
I think it's built around him because we have made it built around him.
You're so smart. I love it.
You know, if that makes sense.
That's a really nice way to say I'm married to somebody with a sizable ego, and it's worked for us so far.
And a lot of control. And a lot of control issues. And that's another thing we are challenged with too, is sometimes, you know, things aren't done perfectly or aren't done exactly the way. So I think that would be a challenge in it's not being done the way he would do it.
Right. So I'll just do it myself. And it's got my name on it. So the buck stops with me. All those noble ideas that have become quotes over time become a way of living. And then there's a spouse and there's a kids. And then there's a person inside of him that's going, yeah, what about life though? Right?
Yep.
So it's both and.
Yeah.
It's both and. So here's something my wife did for me. I think I've mentioned on the show a little bit. So I've worked in nonprofits my whole career. I've been in education forever, working at universities and at public schools. And so coming to this job was it was like somebody opened the floodgates for me, where I was on call for 365, 24/7 for almost 20 years. And if I went to the hospital 4 nights a week to be with students, and I got up at 2 a.m. to deal with drunk students 3 nights a week, my paycheck stayed the same. And if I built a new residence hall or recruited 1,000 new students, my paycheck stayed the same. This is the first time it's like, man, you write another book, then you get more money. And if you get on the road and go speak at more places and go do more consulting, you make more, right? So I feel like I have had some tethers just clipped and I'm running as fast as I can. And it was this past Christmas break that my wife sat down and said, John, we have enough. I need you. And that was really hard for me to hear. And she was right. And she said, your kids need you. And from this point forward, anytime you think you're going to go, quote unquote, make some more money for us, I need you to hear me say that's not true. It's a lie that you're telling yourself.
Hmm.
And dude, that like cut me. I was like, whoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same as she said, we don't need any more deep freezers. Like, we're good. Right? So same thing.
Right.
And so, or we don't need any more guitars or guns or anything like that. So there was a wisdom there, though, that I had to look in the mirror and say, I'm running and running and running. And I'm telling myself it's for these other people, but it's for me.
Yeah.
It's for me. And that's fine that it's for me. That's good. But it's coming at a cost of.
Exactly.
And that was hard. But I would love to see you put in your 6-week notice and see what happens. How do you think he'll respond to that? I'm just curious.
I think it would be a wake-up call.
Okay.
And, I'm sure it would lead us to the bigger discussion that needs to happen.
Okay.
But I kind of like the shock factor of it.
Dude, don't get me in trouble. Okay, if I'm you, here's how I would do this. And again, every marriage is different. I would set up a nice dinner. We'd go somewhere. We'd not wait until there's we're already fighting about something else. And it would be something planned. I have an announcement to make. I would also I know you've fantasized about this, but be concrete about it. What would you do instead? Because you can't do nothing, right? You got to have a purpose. You've got to have, are we going to go visit people? Are we going to get an RV?
Exactly.
Are we going to work from, like, what are we going to do? Just not nothing, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, let me know how that goes. And if you want to call about, please don't blow things up. Actually, you know what? It's your life. You can do whatever you want to. I love it. And by the way, this is, I feel like I need to say this on behalf of people like me and your husband. He's doing this because he loves y'all a lot, right?
100% understood. And I don't want to feel or come across as ungrateful,
right?
Because, we are where we are because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But something's got to give.
That's right. I think there's a way to do it, not where you're ungrateful, where you are super grateful.
Yes.
Like, you've given us 30 years of your life.
Yeah.
And now we want you to take your life back.
Yep. I love it.
And I quit. That'd be so good. Oh, man. You're awesome, Lynn. Thank you so much for that call. Yeah, let me know how that one goes. I can't wait to hear it. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up? Delony here. I've got a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. I'm always getting calls about burnout, what it is, what to do about it, and just how to live feeling this way. Burnout is when your body has enough and it says, I'm out, I'm done. It's that deep feeling of exhaustion after a long period of being overworked and overstressed and just fried. And most of us associate burnout with work. But burnout can happen at any area of our lives, and it can cause a lack of motivation, irritability, fatigue, or randomly crying at some random song on the radio or when somebody looks at you the wrong way. And that's why I love my friends at BetterHelp. BetterHelp Online Therapy exists to give you the chance to invest in your healing. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with you and your therapist. You never have to even see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in-person therapy. Plus, you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And today, our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Delony. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/Delony. All right, we are back. Let's go to Spinks in Bruton, Alabama. Spinks, what's up, dude?
How are you, Dr. John?
Rocking and rolling, man. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
You bet. So what's up, man?
Okay, so let me give you a brief summary of kind of how we got here, and then I'll ask my question if that's okay.
You got it.
So I am a broadcast meteorologist, and
you sound like a meteorologist. You sound like one.
Thanks. Thank you. So I wanted to do weather and be a meteorologist pretty much my whole life. I was really fascinated with weather as a kid and really fortunate to have a grandmother who, created experiences and bought me things and encouraged me from a very young age to kind of go down that path if I chose to.
Sure.
So graduated college, went to college at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
You had to get that in there, didn't you? You just had to get that in there. Oh,
that's right.
Man.
That's right.
All right. I'll give you that one.
I actually grew up an Auburn fan, if that makes you feel any better.
No, both of them they're both terrible, but whatever. You got it in there, so there you go.
Yeah.
At least you're not an Aggie.
So,
all right, go for it.
There you go. So went to college and then worked briefly in television in the Birmingham, Alabama television market. And then I actually moved back to my hometown to be a full-time youth minister, which kind of opened my eyes to a totally different world that I had never really, been in. So I realized about a year into that job that I wanted to get back into broadcast weather. So I started a company to keep my feet wet, and that ended up turning into a part-time job and subsequently a full-time job. And thankfully, the company has done really well, and that's due in part to, the principles that y'all teach, you and Dave Ramsey on a daily basis. Those are kind of ingrained in the company, and really thankful to have kind of been a Ramsey person my whole life. But over the last few years, I've really had more and more people message me about having severe weather anxiety and specifically tornado anxiety. Not only, the messages, but also sometimes when I'm in public, people will see me and want to talk about their severe weather experiences and their, severe weather anxiety. So my question for you is this: what are some effective ways that I can help to alleviate this severe weather anxiety? And I guess kind of elaborating on that, what would you say to me and to people in my industry as a mental health professional, as far as, do you have any suggestions on how we can be more effective communicators during, crises like tornadoes?
Yes, dude, I love this question. I love it for a few reasons. One, I grew up in Houston, the Gulf, and so I've been sheltering in place and getting in bathtubs with mattresses since I was a little bitty kid, right? So I've got my own ingrained weather anxiety. And I've had to work through it over the past 5 to 6 to 7 years. And it's been, I love this question for a personal reason. Can I be super blunt and honest with you, or me to talk peripherally?
No, be super blunt and honest.
Okay. I'm going to speak to you as though I'm clowning on you, but it's actually for the entire ecosystem. Is that cool?
Yes, absolutely. I think I may know where this is going.
You're such a great person. I appreciate you taking one for the team, right? Okay. So I think let's answer this from kind of the top of the funnel. Anxiety, to make it really easy, can distill down into 3 buckets, right? Am I scared? Does your body detecting that something scary is happening? Whether you're in an abusive relationship, you're not safe. It remembers a time when you drove on this road and you were making this left turn when you got in a bad car accident. So it's going to start, it put a pin in that, right? So there's safety. Then there is disconnection. I'm out of step with my community. I don't have any relationships. My body has found me alone, and it's going to sound the alarms. Or the third one is autonomy, right? I am not in control of tomorrow. I'm not in control of my next step. And when we get in weather situations, that's one of those few moments when you are completely and totally out of control. You're scared to death. And often we find ourselves isolating alone. So feeling anxious about weather is right, and it's good, and it's not something that we're not broken when we get nervous about it. What happens though is the ecosystem that we've created for ourselves when it comes to how media communicates weather, I think has shifted from I'm giving you good information to I need to get clicks and sell ads. And
Absolutely.
this is a critique of the internet media, of course, but it's bled over into public, right? So now when it's raining outside, I can turn on the news just to check it out, and it will be a big, bright, bold, red, breaking news, breaking weather update. Right? You see what I'm saying? Everything is designed to get me to focus in on there and to sound the alarms that I'm not safe, right?
Sure.
And there's the broader conversation that tells us that because of climate change, we're going to have more tornadoes, more hurricanes, they're going to be more aggressive, we're going to have hailstorms, the crops are going to all fail, right? What's the latest one is that the government and rich people are drumming up a food shortage. Like we're being fed this all the time, that we're going to die, and that the weather and climate are the reason. And so that's coming from the inside out, right? And Storms are escalating, and the weather's bananas. And what used to be right, so it is actually happening too. And so it's this both and. So I think your question is incredibly important because you sit as the person people go to when they're anxious or when they're scared, and they've got all this baggage that they're bringing with them, and they look at you and say, "Help." Right? And so then what do we do?
And I think from my perspective too, I'm kind of in a unique position because, like I said, I started a company essentially being, the TV weathercaster, but I own, the company from the top down, right? And so I think too, a lot of folks don't realize, or it seems to me that a lot of folks don't realize that these larger media conglomerates that own these local television stations, you're right, are pushing the narrative, from the top down, and sometimes that can lead to, local meteorologists pushing things in a way that may not be as helpful. Not to say that they're not doing good work. I think they are, of course. But I think that a lot of folks don't realize that, a lot of this is, being pushed from the top sometimes.
Right. And that when they tell you, hey, things just turned, you're good, that message isn't always communicated because the goal is to keep you on, right? Because I want you to keep watching the station. So
sure,
whenever I'm sitting down with somebody who's struggling with anxiety of any kind, a couple of things guide my path there, okay? Number one is presence. I'm going to show up. And I think someone who's doing weather is uniquely positioned, especially someone who's not market hopping, and you know how that whole rigmarole goes. I'm going to do 2 years in this one and 1 year here and all that. Somebody who creates a stable presence. I'll be here, right? And you can trust me. And you can also trust that I'm going to probably oversell it this way or undersell it this way. We had a guy in one of my communities I lived in, they'd call him Run for the Hill Ron Roberts or whatever his name was. But also everybody went to him every single time. And like it's kind of like Delony comes in and I'm like, I saw the best movie ever. They know it wasn't the best movie ever, but they know it's pretty good. But they know me, right? There's a presence. And so presence is number one. A big one that I follow is facts are your friends. When somebody's stressed out, when somebody is fried, what they need is very limited true data. When a mother opens the door and there's an officer standing there in full uniform and I'm standing there, she instantly knows something's happened. If I start with, well, it was raining really hard and there were cars, right? That's not how you do that. You open the door and say, ma'am, there was a car accident and your son was in the car and he has died. Facts are your friends. And there's a period there. And I'm going to say it directly. I'm going to say it forward, right? And then after we pick her up and take her inside, over the next couple of hours, there will be discussions and back and forth. And one of the things that I was trained to do that I'm pretty good at is those conversations go up and down and up and down and up and down. So there's going to be some strange moments of deep guttural laughter sometimes. And there's going to be some deep moments of fear and scared and what do we do? And here's who you call next. So I use that example to tell you the best group I've ever seen. And I grew up in Texas. You know how volatile the weather is in Texas. The best I've ever seen is this crew here in Nashville, the Nashville Severe Weather. It's a couple of guys who have a Twitter account. And I don't even have Twitter, but I follow them. And here's why it's great. They say things like, hey, it's past, go to bed. Get off the computer. They'll
giving an all clear, in other words.
Yeah, it's an all clear, but it's an all clear like I would get from a buddy, not an all clear from an AI. They give funny memes in between their reports. And also they're very direct when they say, go get under something now if you're in this area. And they use that very sparingly. And so what I've come in my 4 years I've been in Nashville, 5 years I've been in Tennessee, I've come to trust they're funny. They're going to have moments of levity. If they say jump, you better jump because they're not messing around. They're not playing with you. And they tell me to go to bed. Their goal isn't to keep me on there as long as possible. Their goal is to give me accurate information. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
So those three things, I think, in someone in your, like as a public figure is, I'm going to show up every time. I'm going to be a presence for you. And I'm going to give you true data, true information. And if it's no big deal, I'm going to say it's no big deal. Go back to bed. If it's a huge deal, I'm going to tell you. And 3, I'm going to intersperse humor and connection wherever I can, right? Whether that's funny memes, whether that's the dad joke of the day, or whether that's whatever that is. Here's a recipe for staying up late since you're going to be up late tonight because there are going to be tornadoes all over your area. Those kind of things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Absolutely.
I think some leadership in the area of here's what I'm nervous about. I'm gonna say I'm actually scared about it. I'm scared that with escalating weather, and this isn't a political statement, and I still I can't figure out for the life of me how weather has gotten politicized. It's bananas to me.
Right.
But as it has become increasingly more volatile and increasingly more wild, right, and the temperature swings and the rain, all that. The more noise there is, the more people disregard it. And the more dangerous it becomes for everybody. And so I would love to see someone like you, Spinks, who says, I'm going to be a part of this new generation of meteorologists, and we're going to start a conversation that says, hey, how do we connect with our communities again and not try to get them to buy Metamucil ads, like whatever the thing that's going to come up. How can we give them some information that's going to help them sleep and help them stay safe instead of let's get them wound up, right? And I know that's so easier said than done because of the conglomerates you're talking about, but.
Well, and this may be a topic for another day, but what would you say, like one of the things that I encounter pretty frequently, we see on social media people who have no training in meteorology, even sometimes teenagers that get on Facebook and, post these wild single image model runs and kind of pass them off as a forecast, but then they go viral because, it's the shock factor, right? And what would you say, like, to folks who kind of are in tune to that sort of thing, but perhaps should be more in tune to like a local person who is trained?
2 things. One, you're exactly right. Our brains are designed to scan the environment for the worst possible outcome because that's how it stays alive. And 5,000 years ago, or 50 million years ago, whatever, if a twig snapped in the forest, it's better that I assume that's a bear, even though it's probably not. Because if I'm wrong, I'm dead. And if I'm right, I just jumped really high and nothing happened, right? Now you take that same brain wiring and fast forward, and now some 17-year-old with a computer model and a Twitter account can keep an entire neighborhood awake, right? And screw up their weather patterns and their traffic patterns and their shopping, all that stuff. So I think that we have to have a generation that pops up real fast, yourself included. I'm thinking of the Lane Nortons of the world, the Sal DiStefano and the Mind Pump guys with fitness. I'm thinking of Huberman when it comes to some of the mental health stuff and science. This show, your show, that will call that out directly. Do not get weather advice from a knuckle-headed Facebook account. Right? And I'm just going to call it what it is and say somebody is running their mouth. They don't know what they're talking about. Here's actual data. Here's actual science. And if you build that trust over time and you don't become an alarm sounder all the time unless you really need to sound the alarm, then people will begin to trust you. But there's going to take a group of people who actually know what they're talking about to come out of our laboratories and come out of our circles. I just like to hang out with mental health folks. That's what I love to do. And I like to hang out with doctors and lawyers. And I've got to leave those circles and start communicating some of this truth in other ways. Right. So I think you've got to call that out directly. And if a group of people tweet you 5 or 6 or 7 of the same photo, call it out. Say, hey, I keep getting this photo. This is nonsense. Hey, Frank at Frank's Garage 87, like, stop posting stuff. You're going to get people hurt. This is nonsense and it's garbage, right? And I think calling it out.
Gotcha.
This is a great one.
Good to know. I think it's fair to say that maybe a little. It's certainly easier said than done, especially when
everything I just said is easier said than done. Yes, no question.
Oh, sure, totally. Not saying it's not worth it. I think it is, but definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some sort of collective movement to center things back. Not politically, again. I don't want to get your mean cards and letters, everybody, but center it back.
That's right.
Things are getting crazy when it comes to weather. Things are getting extreme and things are speeding up. And I need to know when it's a big deal for me or not. I need to know when there's a pattern that's happening over time, right? So I need to know some of this true data, but I also need it in a not sensationalized time because it's just a big game of boy cried wolf. And now people are just starting to check out, right? They're just saying, I'm completely out of this conversation. So whether you're a parent, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a psychologist, whether you're a medical doctor, whether you are a meteorologist like Spinks in his community is, whatever you do, the more you bang on drums and cry wolf, the education system's falling apart. We're all going to It's not. It's not. Is it in a mess right now? Absolutely. Absolutely. I just was in a meeting this morning. I'm taking this on a left turn, but I'll come back. I was just in a meeting this morning. The company that I work for, there's about 1,100 employees, adopted a single school this year. And they gave every employee a week off to go support this school. There's a big group of us that are going to get certified as substitute teachers, who are going to get certified as aides, who are going to, groups have already come in and cut out things for teachers, make copies, do coffee, make breakfasts, take this school over and support and love them. Because education's not broken. Teachers teaching kids isn't broken. It's teachers having to be roofers and pavement employees, and craftsmen and social workers and therapists, and deal with their own homes, all for barely minimum wage. And if you do the hour, sometimes it's not even minimum wage. So it's time for people like companies and like local communities and local churches to step up and start taking care of some of these schools, right? So that's a group of people in a community stepping up and saying, we have a problem here. Let's be a part of the solution. Let's just don't throw grenades on Facebook. Same with the weather. Same with any number of challenges we have in our communities. Let's get a group of people to step up and start being a part of that. And Spinks, shout out to you and your company for leading that charge. If you are anxious about weather, find a organization, find a voice that you trust, whether it's on the internet like the one I found, whether it's a particular anchor, if you will. I keep thinking of Anchorman, Ron Burgundy. Find somebody who will give you good information and then turn it off. We'll be right back. It seems like everybody's talking about how crazy the housing market is right now and how powerless homebuyers feel. Mix that with the stress of moving and life change and job change, and you've got a tornado of anxiety fueling one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make. This is not a good idea. So if you're a new home buyer right now, my advice to you is to focus on what you can control, like the people you choose to help you in the home buying process. You need folks like my friends at Churchill Mortgage. Churchill is a Ramsey trusted provider that's been helping people with their home mortgages for decades. And their Home Buyer Edge program will help you skip a bunch of the stress. Here's how it works. Apply to become a Churchill certified home buyer and cap your interest rate for 90 days. Then you'll get a $5,000 seller guarantee to help your offer stand out. So go ahead, take a deep breath because Churchill has your back. Check them out at churchillmortgage.com/Delony and get the Home Buyer Edge today.
This is a paid advertisement. NMLS ID 1591. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender. 1749 Mallory Lane, Suite 100. Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. Programs are for select loan types only and are not available in all states or locations.
All right, we are back. During the break, went ahead and sent Spinks 10 copies of Redefining Anxiety. That book's like $10, and you can get it at johndelony.com. And it's just a short primer. It's about 60, 70, 80 pages. It's I should probably know that, right? But it's a short book that just walks through, here's what anxiety is, here's what it's not, and here's what you can do to get your life back. And so I'm going to send him 10 copies of that. And if you know somebody struggling with anxiety, grab one. Pick one up at the store and or on the internet at johndelony.com. All right, let's go to Christina in Omaha, Nebraska. What's up, Christina?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. What's up?
All right, I have a question I'd like to get your perspective on.
I'll give it.
All right. I have a wonderful sister who has Down syndrome, and she is not getting the care that she needs. And my question is, how do I confront my mother about these issues when she believes she isn't doing the best for her daughter?
She believes she is doing the best or does not believe she's doing the best?
She does believe she's doing the best.
Okay. Walk me through what care is missing. What's going on?
So the biggest thing is that she is having trouble with mental health.
Okay.
I've heard her describe that she has hallucinations that that trouble her on like a daily basis, as well as pretty vivid nightmares.
Okay.
She's been going into extreme isolation, where she won't try and make friends. She also doesn't get very many opportunities to make friends.
Is she in school?
She is not. She has not had formal education since she was in kindergarten. My mother is a homeschooler, but she doesn't give like structured homeschool. It's more like free-form education.
Okay. You're and you know this, I'm just saying this out loud. Your sister has some very serious needs that can be met, have to be met legally, right? But can be met with great care and love and professionalism in a local school.
Yeah.
And she needs those desperately.
Right.
The things you just told me, hallucinations, nightmare, isolation, no formal connection with other kids, is a dangerous spiral for a young child. How old is your sister?
She's 17.
She's 17. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Okay. Yeah. Yikes. Have you had this conversation with your mom before?
No.
Okay.
I've recently been on my own healing journey from my childhood.
I can imagine.
So.
Okay. So you have to call the Child Protective Services. Okay.
Yeah, this is what I was afraid of.
You need to do it today.
Do it today?
Yeah, you need to do it today. Or let me tell you this: I'm going to do it.
It's hard because
I know I'm going to do it.
Burn bridges.
I know. Listen,
Okay.
The bridge has been burned.
Yeah.
And your sister's on that bridge, and it's on fire.
Okay.
You didn't light it. It's not by your hand, but this fell into your lap, so now you got to deal with it. And this shouldn't be your job because you're the child, and it is. But someone's got to look after that little girl. Okay?
Okay.
I'll give you, before I call, because now what I have is a report of a minor who is struggling. So before I send in a report, I'll give you 24 hours, okay?
Okay.
Here's what the follow-up looks like, okay? The follow-up, it looks like this. You sit down and tell your mom, well, let me back out. It sounds like your mom won't hear this conversation, and it's not even a safe conversation to have. Is that true?
Yeah, it's like, yes, that is true. It's like I want her to listen to this. I desperately want her to, but in the back of my mind, I know that she won't.
Okay. All right.
You're right.
So my approach all the time is to sit down with somebody and have a hard conversation with them about what I'm going to do if they don't change, fill in the blank. Okay. But I also, one of my core tenets is only speak if you can be heard. And this conversation, I trust you, would be a waste of your time and might even endanger your sister further.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What I don't want is an adult in your sister's life to come and say, hey, if anybody asks you, you better say this or you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to get hurt again or whatever. Hallucinations, nightmares, increasing isolation, this spinning out. My first question to ask you is there a chance she's being abused?
There's 100% chance she's being mentally and emotionally abused. Yeah.
Is there a chance she's being sexually abused?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay. You need to make that call today.
Okay.
And yes, it may blow things up. Yes, it may whatever. It's the right thing to do. Because your sister needs some significant interventions ASAP. Okay. My hope is that the local school can take care of that. There might be a chance that you end up having to take her for a season. Or an aunt that lives in that area takes her for a season, and you get enrolled in a public school, and they'll work with her. But that isolation for what, 3-4 years, you said?
Yeah, probably. At least.
When you say she's 100% being psychologically and emotionally abused, what do you mean?
I mean that it's coming from my mother. I have witnessed her gaslight her and completely ignore her request for help. Like, she's told her that she's in pain or that she's struggling with something, and my mom has told her, no, you're not. You're making that up, or you're doing that to get attention or something like that.
Yeah, you got to step in right now, okay?
Okay.
Are you going to make that call?
Gotta have to, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would tell you, besides the ethical and moral obligation, and besides the fact this is your little sister, you have a legal obligation. You know of a child that's in distress, that's being neglected and or abused, and you got to make that phone call.
Okay.
Okay.
How do I don't know. How do I tell my mom that I'm doing this?
I don't know that you need to.
Oh, okay.
If it was my parents wouldn't be in this situation. If it was an adult that could hear you, then you would sit down. You would either have a phone call or you would go sit down in person and say, "Hey, I can no longer sit by while my sister is struggling with these extreme nightmares, with the extreme isolation, with the emotional and psychological abuse that's going on in this home, with a mom and dad that completely ignore her needs. She's not doing well, and I'm scared about the outcome here." And so either she goes into public school effective tomorrow. We go enroll her tomorrow so she can get the needs and services that she is in desperate need of, or I'm calling CPS. Okay. And when you call CPS, you tell them, I'm 28 years old. My younger sister has Down syndrome. She's 17. And she's being psychologically and emotionally abused. She's having some mental health breakdown issues, and they're being completely ignored. And so I'm calling to make a report of child abuse. And I'm willing to take her into my home while y'all investigate this.
Right.
Okay. Lay it out that cleanly. Facts of your friends. Doesn't need a long, dark, and stormy night. It just needs, here's the situation. I'm reporting this call, and I'm willing to step up, but I need y'all to go in and do your job.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you think there's a chance, you call CPS and they say, great, we're going to go look into it, but it's going to be about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Is she in immediate danger? Do you know of any physical abuse going on or whatever? Our backlog is X and Y and Z. That may happen. It may be that you go sit with your mom and say, I would like sister to come live with me for a while.
Right.
And just get her out of your home. Would sister come live with you?
Oh, yeah. I would welcome her to come live with me.
Okay. That may be your next step. I can feel my blood boiling here. Like it, oh man. I don't talk about it a lot on this show, but I spent the bulk of my career working with kids with young people and young adults and adults with special needs. And, oh man, I have a rage inside of me. When people don't honor and love and take care of kids with special needs. Also, by the way, parents listening, homeschooling is great. I'm a huge fan of it. I love it. Especially homeschooling done in a co-op where you've got other people where y'all are connecting and they're learning from different people. I love it. But homeschooling, just because you watch a lot of internet stuff and you're like, these schools are teaching them this stuff, and you do nothing, golly, you're hurting your kids when you do that. Kids have to have structure. They have to have boundaries. They've got to have intentional lessons, intentional pedagogy. And golly, dude, love your kids enough to turn the internet off and at least send them to a public school, or at least send them to a school that you can afford, at least send them to a homeschool co-op where they can actually get the education that they need if you're not going to provide it for them. I think we should go to break or I'm going to get myself in trouble. We'll be right back. It seems so easy, but most of us way undervalue real, genuine relationships. Our friendships, our marriages. We don't know what we're doing, and instead of diving into the mess, we accept shallowness and distraction, and we wallpaper over our loneliness. So let me say this boldly. You cannot be well alone. You've got to get connected to real-life people and have deep, powerful relationships. I'm talking about relationships where you can be honest, where you can open up, where you can share hard things, and you each know that you'll still show up for each other. And in my new book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future, we'll walk through a not-so-complicated approach to relationships, mental health, and wellness, and getting connected is a key part of that. That's why you'll learn shallowness and loneliness are so dangerous, and more importantly, you'll learn how to create meaningful relationships in your life moving forward. There is no good app to help adults find friendships, but this book can help. Go to johndelony.com to take the next step towards wellness. That's Own Your Past, Change Your Future at johndelony.com. All right, we're back as we wrap up today's show. Thanks for being with us. Sorry I threw a little temper tantrum there. Man, not taking care of kids, special needs, makes me crazy. God, that gets me frustrated. Take care of the people in your community. And if you're a brother or sister and your siblings are struggling, they need help, it shouldn't be your job, but it is. Step up, fill in that gap, help out, okay? And shout out to Spinks from Alabama, the meteorologist. Today's song is a great one from Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's the question my friends in Texas are asking. Have you ever seen the rain? It goes like this. Someone told me long ago there's a calm before the storm. I know, it's been coming for some time. And when it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, shining down like water. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Yesterday and days before, sun is cold and rain is hard, and I know, been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes through the circle fast and slow. I know, it can't stop. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? I don't know. I have. Have you, Kelly? Yeah, a couple times.
Once or twice.
We'll see you soon.